Welcome to another edition of Outdoor University. I'm your professor today, Charles Mills. And today we are going to do something that I've been wanting to do for a long time. I'm really excited. So what I need you guys to do is go grab some iced tea, grab a beer, whatever you got to do, a pen and a piece of paper, because I'm about to take you to school on summertime crappies under the lights. Pow! J. Kerwin Dam, aka West Branch. Okay, we got set up. Here's what's happening. Usually in a day we have a lot of wind. You can tell that the barrow really isn't stable. So what they'll do in the daytime is they'll go all the way to the bottom. So when you get on your spot, you finally get set up and you're waiting for that nighttime to come so you can hit those lights. Fish low, real low. Always fish one at about 10 feet. If you're in 20 to 30 feet of water, fish one about 10 to 12. Fish your other rod on the bottom, and you will notice that that one on the bottom is going to start getting bit a lot more. Let's get back to it and see if we can get one. All right, here we go. All right, what I was saying is during the daytime, these crappies, they'll go low, right on the bottom, a foot off. Try to fish 1 to 1.5 foot off the bottom. Let's get them back in. Let's get back down. Looks like Jack's got one.
Looks like it's gonna be a good one too.
There you go. Another nice fish.
Beautiful.
Okay, here's what we're doing for the muskies. All we're doing is we're gonna do bluegills. All right, it's a simple slip rig. He's slippery. We take him, all we're gonna do is hook him to the back, behind the fin, like that. We're gonna fish them about 2 feet off the bottom. We're gonna let it drop, pull, let it drop, pull, and the reason why is because he's swimming sideways and he's taking that line out with that sinker. Go all the way down, pull until we feel the weight of him. Pull until we feel the sinker. Okay, there we know that we're at the sinker. And then what I'll do is I drop, and I'll go, and I'll reel up about 2 feet. Let's find out where the muskies are. Let's get at it. Okay, let's go over weather. Right now we got some wind. You can feel that the barrow is trying to stable out. We had a front roll through today. Stable weather is the best time for crappies. I don't care what anybody tells you. You're gonna hear that old-fashioned saying, crappies are crappies no matter where they swim. Well, I'm about to tell you that that's not true. Stable weather is the best time for summertime crappies when they're in their deep holes. Let's get him back in. Crappies are in the same holes they are in the summertime and the wintertime. So wherever you ice fish them, you can also get them in the summer. Okay, when you have a rising barometric pressure, I find that that's always a good time to fish them up higher in the column. When you have a dropping barometric pressure, I always find that's a better time to fish them lower in the column towards the bottom, within the first 4 feet. Usually if you find those crappie that are within the first 4 feet of that bottom, they are inactive fish. That doesn't mean you can't catch them. That just means that they are inactive. Downsize your baits. Go with more neutral colors. Slim. Eliminate jigs. Eliminate pinmans. Stuff like that. Try to go with bare hook, split shot, hook and a bobber, slip bobber. Get down there. All right, let's get back down there. I need to get rigged back up because it's starting to get dark and it's starting to get the most exciting time. All right, okay, I want to take a minute and talk about split shot location when you're vertical fishing these fish. I have about 12 inches. The reason why is because we have a unstable barrow. When this barometric pressure is more stable, I give them more line. That way the minnow has more room to swim around and trigger a strike. Fish don't want to chase when the barometric pressure is not stable, okay? So when you lower that split shot, what you do is you limit where that minnow can go. So the crappie doesn't have to chase, but it's still moving enough to trigger that response to strike, but it's not enough for the minnow to get away and then the crappie lose interest. So remember, unstable barometric pressure, shorter leader. Steady barometric pressure, you can get away with a longer leader. Let's get back in there because I need to get a minnow on there. Okay, when the night actually falls and you start getting your school of minnows under your light, okay, what you'll have is you'll have the fish, crappie's feet above themselves. Okay, so they'll be located below them fish. I always like to put my bait below the school of minnows. That way it's the first thing they see. If you're in the school of minnows, you're 1 in 1,000. It's like playing the lottery. So what I like to do is if the school of minnows are here, I'll put my bait about a foot below. That way when the crappies from below come up, you're the first minnow that they see. It's a lot better technique than just being all part of the... Ooh, I just missed one. Ooh, I just missed one. You know, part of the crowd. I'm gonna catch this fish. Right now what we got is we got the school of minnows down there, but they're deep. It's not quite nighttime yet. He just got me. Look at that. Just got me. I'm trying to talk and catch fish, guys. I'm sorry. But, you know, I'm here for you. So, let's hold off on that for a minute. Always pay attention to the forage, okay? The reason the crappies are there is because the forage is there. What happens is the light lights up the water, the photoplankton come to the light, the minnows eat the photoplankton, the crappies eat the minnows. That's what happens. We have 2 down rods right now with crappies hooked through the tail because this lake's known for its muskie. It's world renowned. West Branch, everybody knows it in Ohio. This lake, people come from all over the world to fish this lake. The old state record muskie came out of this lake. So what we do is we got 2 down rods down. We're fishing below the school of crappie. I want to talk about guard crappie a little bit later. I don't want to get into that guard crappie subject quite yet. So let's get back down, let's get rigged up, and let's hope we catch some big ones. All right, I want to take a minute and talk about water clarity and your light. One thing you guys need to remember is in cleaner water, your school of minnows will stay deeper, okay? They'll be under your light, but they'll be deeper. And water that's stained or dirty, they'll be raised. So that will change the location of your crappie. You need to remember that. We're fishing against the wall. I have to use my down imaging to actually see the fish, okay? Because of the wall. A lot of times, you know, they'll be related to walls, deep holes, deep ledges. Remember that in the summertime. It's always, there you go. There's a fish. It's always a good thing to remember where that bait is located in the column, because that is going to dictate where your fish are. If your bait is hanging at 3 feet under the water column, add 3 more feet to that, and that's usually where the top of the school of crappie will be. They'll be within a 5-foot range of that. So say they're at 3 feet, that means your crappies are gonna start at 6, 7, 8, and 9. 10 over 20 is usually a good thing to do. Now, what you'll have is you'll have a thing called guard crappie. And I want to take them in and I'm going to talk about with these guard crappie. What guard crappie are, I only find them in northern lakes. Southern lakes, I don't find them as much. You'll find them in lakes that got muskie, northerns, real heavy predators. What it is the larger fish. The bigger crappies will stay below the school and on the outsides of the school. So when a big predator comes in, they see that it's a larger fish and they usually don't want to attack and mess with it because that's the first fish they see, so they think all the fish that are in that school are that size. They're called guard crappie. Back in the 60s, guard crappie was a really big thing. So always remember, if you're catching small ones, move down in a column or try fishing on the outskirts of the light. I just got a bite. I'm sitting there talking and got a bite. All right, let's get back at it. All right, let's talk about moon phase. I find that during the new moon, the waxing gibbous and the waning gibbous is when I have the best time under the crappie light. The reason being is because when there's a full moon, there's more light out, okay? So the photoplankton always naturally just comes up and your light isn't as effective. Try fishing in the full moon and you'll notice that you're just not catching as many and your light just isn't that effective. He came off the pivot. Try fishing during a new moon or a waning or a waxing or an overcast. That's when your light is more effective. Let's get rigged up and get back down. Oh, I think I'm getting another one here. Woo! Let's talk about light color. Some guys like white, some guys like green. Each light has its own time and situation. I find that the white light works better in clear water. The green light I find works better in darker or stained water. Tonight what we're doing is we have a kind of clean and kind of stained water. There we go. So what we're doing is we're running both. We're running a white light and we're also running a green light. That was good.
This is just some footage for the sky and
Here, let me see that real quick. Watch this. See if we can get these minnows coming up to the light. Well, we got fish coming all over the place down there. You can see the fish. I got him on film. All right, let me see what we're talking about next here real quick. All right. So we can get this shit done. Mixed light colors. I got it. Oh, no, Jack! Oh,
blooper moment.
yeah. Did you? Yeah, put that camera up here. That was the talking points. In the lake. Nice. Column sweeps. That's what I want to talk about next. All right, I'm ready, Jack.
All right. Cutting back the chuck in 3, 2, 1.
Got another one here. Got another fish. Look at that crappie. There's another one. I want to take a minute and talk about column sweeps. Anywhere where you find a deep hole with 2 raises on each end of it, or a bowl in the middle of the lake, that's where your light will be successful. Bridges, pillars, pilings, stuff like that. Those are where I like to find column sweeps. That's one of my go-tos. What I'll do is I'll patrol the lake with the fish finder. Say we're in a 20-foot flat and all of a sudden you see a 24 and it comes back up into 20. Fish that bowl, because them crappies in the middle of the day are going to be down on that bottom in that bowl, okay? What they're going to do is they're going to just raise up in that column and spread out a little bit. You can keep them concentrated with that light. You can just raise them up in the column over that bowl. It's always a good thing. Another thing to remember is when you're doing that, try to stay stationary. Do not let your boat swing around. Anchor from the front, anchor from the back. Keep it stationary, okay? What happens is when you let your boat drift, the school of minnows got to go with them, okay? And you're making that school of minnows work harder. You're making those crappies work harder. And you don't want to do that. You want to make it as easy as possible for them to bite that minnow. Let's get back in.
2, 1.
Let's get here, man. All right, we switched up the jigs because they're biting really, really, really aggressive, as you can tell. What we're using is a Mr. Crappie Hornet on a white jig head. And all we're doing is throwing it down there and jigging it. What I like to do is I like to swim under the light. I'll just go back and forth and lift it up and down real slow. I'll move it like this, and then I'll come up with it, and then I'll come down with it, and then I'll let it fall to where it gets straight, and then I'll catch a fish. Just like that. These fish are about 10 inches right here. Here, I'm in Ohio. We have a 9-inch limit, 30 per person. Some states don't even have limits on crappie. What I like to do is I like to set a personal slot limit, especially if you're filling your freezer. Jack, you're getting a bite. He got off? Yep, he got off. Cameraman's getting a bite. But anyways, I like to set, a personal slot limit. Because what I find that is, if your DNR or your state really ain't setting a personal slot limit, I mean a regular slot limit, I like to set personal slot limits. A lot of states don't have slot limits or size limits or limitation on how many fish you can catch. So what I'll do is I'll set a personal slot limit for myself on lakes in different states that don't have it. Reason being is because I fill my freezer during the summers and winters. I don't really mess with the crappies on their beds or during spawn like everybody else. I like them to be concentrated where I can just go bang, 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 get my freezer full, move on to the next species. So, and what that does is that always ensures that you will catch nice slab crappie anywhere you fish. Personal slot limits, gentlemen. Remember that.
2, 1.
I'd like to take a minute and talk about artificials and jigs. I like to use artificials and jigs, hair jigs, plastics, stuff like that when we have a stable barometric pressure. When I find that we have a rise or fall, that the live bait works just so much better. You're not working as much, you're not working as hard. First of all, any good fisherman knows there's no substitution for live bait. And that's just a fact. Anybody that tells you any different ain't a true angler. But I find right out of his mouth, that was a nice fish. I think he got my bait, actually. He did. What I find is on weather patterns, when you have like a rise or a barrow, a rise in the barometric pressure, I find that more neutral colors, grays, browns, pumpkin seeds, stuff like that. When you have a fall in the barrow, I usually go on more bright, if I am going to use jigs. Or what I'll do is when we have a stable barometric pressure, I'll use more natural colors on calm nights, and I'll use more bright colors when there's wind. So remember that. Jigs. I like to use jigs as much as the next guy. Let's get back in.
2, 1.
Now, one thing you're also going to find is through the summer months, you're going to find at different times that different forage fish come to your light. You'll find one night you'll find alewives right out of his mouth again. Next you'll find shad and stuff like that. Don't let that deter you, and don't let that fail you. Try to match the hatch. If you're fishing in shad, fish more shad jigs, or get a net, scoop them right up under the light. We have one right here. Use shad. Got alewives. They're hard to catch though, because they're super fast. But use alewives. You got school of flathead minnows. Use them. Try to match the hatch. When you, man, that was a big bluegill that just came up. You'll find that at different times of the year that you'll have different forage come to the light. Also, different locations of the lake will have different forage, which I always right out of his mouth. Dang, that was a nice fish. I don't think that was a crappie. Sometimes you'll see when you're fishing these dams, you'll get the smallies will come in at night, the smallmouth too, guys. There it goes. You weren't getting away from me twice, and that was. There's a crappie. We're gonna keep him and eat him. But remember that you're gonna have different types of forage come to your light. I find that when you have big schools of really small shad, your fishing is gonna be a little bit more difficult. Crappies are gonna be there, but they're gonna be a little bit more difficult. Sometimes it'll be so difficult that I'll actually move to a different part of the lake and see if I can get a different forage species under my light. That is, that depends on time of the year, weather, stuff like that. Study your lakes and study what forage is in your lakes, and you'll know what your crappies are feeding on. You know what I'm saying? Behavior equals location. Location equals presentation. Remember that, gentlemen. Let's get back to it.
3, 2, 1.
All right, guys, we're gonna close out tonight. Number one, my wife wants me home early, and I know my cameraman's wife wants him home early, and I'll sit out here all night. I don't care. I've done it before. That's why I have 2 exes, divorced. Like I said, fishing is an addiction. Boy, that's a small crappie. Look at that. Actually, what is that, a bluegill? That's a bluegill.
Yeah, that's a bluegill.
But anyways, I had a lot of fun tonight. I'm Charles Mills with Outdoor University. And remember, small carbon footprint, and please, 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 take a kid fishing. Until next time, I'll see you later. All right, man, let's take a minute. And I know we said goodbye, but as we're saying goodbye, Jack's muskie rod goes off. The camera guy's muskie rod goes off. And why don't you show him what happened there, Jack?
Kind of embarrassing.
It's kind of embarrassing, he said. What is it?
50 pounds.
Oh, 50-pound Power Pro, what? Oh.
Yeah, then he jumped out there.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's a little upset.
Yeah, he was every bit 50 inches. We seen him. Nice fish. I told him, I said, now pay attention to that rod. I looked over, that thing was like, it was touching the water. You know, and he was mad. He was trying to steal the rod. You should have seen the cameraman's face. He was like, what you got to say about that, Jack?
Upset. Especially after you see him jump right on the water. I mean.